Are you looking to sharpen your command and leadership skills? The 2024 Blue Card Hazard Zone Conference is coming back to the Sharonville Convention Center in Cincinnati, Ohio, September 30th through October 4th. Immerse yourself in 5 days of targeted command education and leadership training at the 2024 Blue Card Hazard Zone Conference. This is your opportunity to recharge your command skills and stay at the forefront of incident command best practices. This year, we've added a certification lab, September 30th through October 2nd. Also added a Mayday workshop, October 1st to October 2nd. The General Conference is on October 3rd and 4th. The Mayday workshop is filling up fast, and our early bird pricing of $415 each for the General Conference is a limited time offer. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Register now at hazardzonebc.com. Welcome to B-Shifter. Today, John Vance, Terry Garrison, Nick Brunacini, hanging out in the B-Shift room. That's right. Talking about things that interest us and maybe you. So we're glad that folks are able to join us today.
Thank you.
How are you doing today, Terry?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
It's been a good day.
You've kind of had a little rough start to the day, though, right?
It's fun. It's kind of a funny day. I don't think we need to share it.
Oh, you don't? Terry was wearing a blouse earlier, and you didn't realize it, right?
No, I went into the, so there's a large closet. It's actually more than a closet. It's a room here at the office, at the building. And the building, remember Tom Henry? The building. And I went in there to grab a Hawaiian shirt to put on. And this one looks nice. Got a single button. It fits nice. I put it on. I came out, and one of the Nick's daughter says, Terry, that shirt looks wonderful on you. It's a girl's. So I know that in women's clothing, I wear a 2X.
Mm-hmm. And it fit a little different, didn't it? Didn't it feel like you were wearing a ladies' shirt? It felt like there was a
little more room in the chest area, you know. But it felt strange.
Yeah. Did you wear any women's clothing today?
Not today, but I had worn that same thing that Terry. In fact, Terry may have been wearing the same one I wore. The very first interview of this building was done by the radio people. KTAR Radio came and said, "Yeah, we heard about this building and this mural you painted on it." That was painted on it, and we'd like to interview you. And I said, sure. And so we get done, and I thought they were like one of the local TV stations. And she says, no, we're radio. And I said, really? You just videotape me for radio?
That's
and
weird.
She says, yeah, it'll be on the news, though. So, but I remember seeing it, and I think, you know, I just don't think that shirt fits me funny. It's goofy. And I needed a haircut at the time, and my beard was all over. And I was really kind of crazy. I've been staring at the sun for about 2 or 3 weeks, wondering what was going to happen next with the world. Yeah, and so they informed me, too, the same people. Said,
it's a Hawaiian shirt. It looks like a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, it was. And I said, well, those are females. And, okay.
So I went and grabbed this one and put this one on.
Yeah. And
this is a male shirt.
Yeah.
This thing look, and it's wonderful if you see the back.
It looks good on you.
It's an OG. It's an OG icy.
This is a good shirt. You know that old saying about, that shirt looks good on you, or you make that shirt look good.
You make it pop.
Right. No, this shirt looks good on anybody.
You know what's crazy is the price of T-shirts has gone through the roof.
Really?
For like a quality T-shirt to silk screen it's ridiculous. Really? It's like 10 times what it was just like 5-6 years ago.
That's amazing.
It's nuts.
Thanks, COVID.
You know, they blame it on COVID, but I think that's bullshit. I think people are just jacking prices to jack prices.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting though. It's backfired on some. Ford Ford is sitting on a ton of pickup trucks.
F-150s,
right now.
man.
They can't sell them. When we were in Detroit, we were in Dearborn doing a train the trainer class, and there are parking lots full of F-150s everywhere. They don't have enough space to put them in Detroit.
And that's greed. I think we're going to get all we can. You know, the other is like Boeing. They thought, well, we're just going to quit making a good airplane. So, we're going to give the money to the investors instead.
I'm going to share one more of those with you. So my wife and I, over the last 5 years, have done a crawfish boil. You're always busy, but thank you. And we do a crawfish boil, so we order like a giant bag of live crawfish and the sausage and stuff from the South. And this year it was 4 times as much. It was like $600. It was seriously, it's normally a couple hundred. It went 600. So my wife's like, well, we're not going to do it. We're going to cancel the event because I don't want to spend that much on bugs. And so we canceled the event. This was about a month ago. Since then, about once a week, we get a contact from them saying, hey, our prices are back down. We have crawfish now. Our prices are down. I think they were trying to take advantage of the public.
Well, I read a deal a while ago, though, that said that the crop was off. They didn't have enough crawfish. So they said you couldn't buy them, and they were very expensive. And so another one of the pandemic must have adversely affected the crawfish. You think, oh, okay.
Well, it's like eggs were $11, $12 a dozen not too long ago for a while, and they came back down somewhat.
Well, and I feel like we're a bunch of
let's start talking about our medications next. And their side effects.
Well, they said most of the inflation is caused by the greed. They said it's like the oil. The price you drive by and gas goes up $1 over two from the time you got it last to the time you need it. And actually, you think, what is going on? Well, there was a rainstorm somewhere off the coast of South America, and it adversely affects all the prices on the West Coast. You're like, okay.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
That's a heck of a start.
Yeah. We're looking forward to the conference. We are heating up on the talk. You guys are going to be at the conference doing Silverback management. The conference is September 30th through October 4th. The pre-conference is September 30th. The conference itself is October 3rd and 4th. And you guys will be presenting. So can you talk to us about what that presentation is going to entail? And then it'll kind of dovetail into what our topic is for the day.
Yeah, I think we're making some progress. You know, last year we introduced the Silverback Leadership. It's the information that we've taken basically from that Bruno's taught throughout his entire career on leadership. He was big on leadership. Everybody kind of knows he was the incident commander guy, but he was also big on leadership and customer service and how you treat people. And we've been really going through that for about a year and a half, and repackaging up his information is what we did, and we put it in a nice big program that we're going to offer, Silverback Leadership, and we're going to kind of go through some modules on that. It's tremendous. We call it, so it's actually his books, which are Anatomy and Physiology, No-Brainer Management, Functional Boss Behavior, and what am I missing? Oh, Essentials of Customer Service. And then we like to say it, and then it was all his napkins, notes, and knowledge that he put down for all of us over the years, because I have all those in my office. And we went through all that. I think the most difficult part was deciding what to include. But we have a full program that we're gonna present again this year.
Yeah,
I went into that because Nick's got about 10,000 other things going on here at the building, and that's been the project that he assigned to me. So I get to go through that and write the notes on it, and then Nick adds to it. But his saying "yeah" meant a lot to me because he didn't correct anything I say. So thank you, Nick, for your support.
Well, and that's kind of it. Is right now we're at the point where we've amassed a bunch of stuff. So we got all this content. So we got video, we got some graphics. Terry's been writing a bunch of articles about this that we'll figure out how to incorporate all that into the program that we do online. So. And I think that's kind of the challenge, is how much writing do you put in versus this? Because, people don't like to People don't like to read, I'm finding out. Too much reading, especially if you're online, it just disrupts things.
I think the great gold mine we most recently came across is all the videos of AVB, and we're including those, and that just matches up perfectly with everything that he said back then. He had his schedule when he dropped at the airport, so to speak, is he had his schedule at least 2 years in advance. In my office over there on the other side of that wall is my office, and I have his travel bag that I just kind of opened and looked around for a minute and shut back up, that he was dragging as he was going through the airport. And the calendar in there, he was full, and it was all leadership. And so there's no reason that information shouldn't be taught out there. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take his information out, all the stories that he told us, and then we're going to add a little bit what we've been able to kind of do over the last 10 years in our careers, really throughout our careers. We're going to add to it, and it's going to be a full program. I think people are going to enjoy it.
I can't wait to see it.
And it's Bruno's program. And, we were told by one person, no, don't say repackage, but really repackaging is actually what we're doing. We're taking his information, we're delivering in a way that makes sense today using all the technology.
In fact, the term we're using is we're curating it, Garrison and I.
Yes, curators.
It's the kindness curation.
We are disciples of Bruno, and we're going to take that out and preach that. And it's really good information. I mean, it's actually usable. Okay, I'm a leader in this position. Here's the issue I have. And okay, well, here's a great tool that you can use or a program you can use. So I think people are going to look forward to it.
So it's you guys and 19 other instructors at the Hazard Zone Conference. You can go to hazardzonebc.com and get all the information on that. And not only are you going to present that Silverback leadership there, but then it's going to become a program online. And is that going to be for anyone who's a blue card user? Are they going to be able to have access to that, or how's that going to work?
What we're doing right now is the plan is to take all this leadership content and turn it into some kind of blue card centric type presentation online. So like Terry referred to earlier, is we found a bunch of video, 3 hours of video of him at the National Fire Academy, just kind of sitting there being interviewed. So at least half of that, at a minimum, is going to make it into the program. And so what we'll do is, as Terry said earlier, is my dad had a thing for eights. So like the 8 functions of command. Well, there's 8 broad chapters to this leadership. Yeah. So there's 8 different modules. So that's what we'll put together and we'll do the intro. The goal is to have the intro done and then the first module by the time we get to the conference in October. So, and based on kind of the current workflow and schedule, that is highly doable. And then the way we'll share that with the world is if you're a blue card user right now and you're signed up, we're getting ready to jack the CE area of B Shifter, and we're going to start filling that with more and more content. The leadership stuff will be some of the next to get put in there, but as the buck slip continues to grow and evolve, is we'll start throwing task level stuff in there. So the CE area of the B Shifter website is going to be where all this newer content comes into play. And so really, we rebuilt the website here in October. And so today, I don't know, a little over 6 months since we took it down and put it back up, is I'm going to say it's at least 125 to 130% of what it was before. So all the functionality's back. The instructors will notice, especially the ones that use it all the time, the system has gotten much faster, and there's newer tool sets going in that make it easier to manage all the ICs within your department. We're going to continue that, so the instructors' access and what they have in the system is going to continue to be refined and improved. I mean, that's just the way we do stuff. And then we'll start to add more and more content. Starting the first stuff that'll go in there, you'll see, is the stuff that Terry and I have been working on, mostly Terry, but we'll sit down and we'll start creating more and more. And then we're going to figure out a way for people to kind of comment back to us on this. And so there's some two-way communication where we can start to, oh, okay, you don't like this, you prefer this, or, something you want to see, or however it's going there. So, and then realistically, I think we're going to be screwing around with it for 3 or 4 years. And we'll just be sharing as we develop it. And then one day we're going to wake up and it's going to be done and think, okay, we got this leadership thing. And then we'll probably move it out and it'll become its own program in the thing. And then, but with everything we do, at least on the blue card side, is you got continuing education is a big part of that. In fact, I was talking to Greg earlier, and one of the things, he's been doing blue card forever. And he says one of the things he's noticed is like departments that'll be doing the full CE access. He said in his area of the country where he works, he says you'll see a difference when departments, they'll go along and do full CE for a while, and then they'll change their priorities and say we're going to stop doing full CE and we're going to do something else. And he says within a few months, he says you start to see their incident operations dropping off. And he says you can hear it on the radio. He says they're just not practicing it enough anymore. And he said so. And I think what we'll do is, I don't know what it'll look like, but the leadership thing, there's going to be, I think the power of blue card are the scenarios in it, is the simulations. So it's like, okay, here's your conditions. Now here's the actions you're going to take. So we're all speaking the same language. I think we do the same thing with leadership. It's like, okay, this is what this looks like. This is why we do it this way. Here's the scenarios that we're going to be managing. So when you look at like the customer service book, that is probably a premier text on this, at least in the public safety world. And the scenarios in that book have become infamous. The concrete deal, the old man with his dog who gets in the accident, the 2 asshole paramedics on the airplane, piss off the doctor and the nurse. So we will expand those out. And then I think the key to a lot of that is, okay, they did this. What do we do now? Well, I think the power of this program is, and the old man said, he says, well, this is what we did to fix it. And they didn't execute anybody. It's like, no, you got to be nice to them. They were rude. So I'm going to go be rude to them to make them not be rude to. And that's not the way it works. He said, so, they got to understand that this isn't acceptable. And so that's what you do. That's the way you improve your current deal. So.
I can't wait to see that at the conference and online.
Yeah.
So it's going to be on bshifter.com. And by the way, the customer service book is available once again at the B-Shifter store. And I know we sold about 100 of them last month. I mean, people are clamoring for them. Right. And it was $25 more the last time I bought it. So it's a good deal to get that book at bshifter.com.
Well, exactly. And what happened before is IFSTA produced that book forever. And then it just kind of, it stayed with them, and then they had all the books for a while, and they got out of the Alan Brunacini business. And then at some point they said, well, we got this book, we don't know what to do with it. We thought, well, that's because we own it. And so it all kind of came back, and that happened about a year ago. And then it took us that long to get the master file where you could print it again. And the only change between the old book and the new book is there's no longer a spiral bound. So it's a regular perfect bound book, so it looks like a regular book. And that makes it much easier to ship. Right. And then we dropped the essentials. So the title of it is Fire Department Customer Service, which is, yeah. So but it's the same exact book, same art, same text. We did not change a word in it. We had talked about doing that when my dad was alive, probably 10, 12 years ago, of taking the book back from Oklahoma. And we looked at it and started tearing it apart. And he says, I don't know what I would change. And I thought, we can change the artwork and leave the text. And he says, yeah, I guess we could do that. And then it would be a new book and we could take it over and blah, blah, blah. Thought, well, and it just kind of died on the vine because we had all the other stuff we were doing. And then it comes through the transom a couple years ago. IFSTA contacts us and said, hey, we got we got some books we sold. We have like 2 or 3 cases left. We'll give you, and then would you take it? Yeah, it's ours. We want it back, so it worked out very well for everybody.
It's all relevant, and it still works today.
Oh, it's
all the information's right.
In fact, I've read some leadership and management. It's just some genius writes one a week of these things, and they come across. And
thank you, that's me.
Well, exactly. And really, none of them that I've ever read have been any better than that book. It was just simple. It's written for firefighters. It makes more sense. It truly is. He was ahead of his time. So. Yeah. They said that was the most disruptive thing he ever did to the fire service was customer service.
Identify Mrs. Smith, and you screwed us all up.
When we went to D.C., Washington, D.C. was going to do Blue Card, and they wanted to customize to D.C. They were a special cat, and their chief at the time was Ruben, and so my dad and him hooked up. And so I remember going there the first time as part of that, and it was their ops staff. And they said, we're okay with this. In fact, this is just good. Because they were tacticians, a lot of those guys. They knew what they were doing. And so they saw it, and they said, this is just good standard practices. They said, and they tell you off the side, they said, what we're the most afraid of is if he brings that customer service book in here. And they said, we don't know what we'll do then. I thought, well, no, I ain't that ain't. Yeah, me and my brother tactician guys. We're you ain't gonna get that from us. Yeah,
it's funny how some people are scared of it, and then I also have gotten from I've sat in classes with East Coast guys who they're victims and they're taxpayers, they're not customers, and they're doing that routine.
Yeah,
which it's like what Bruno always tried to de-victimize. We say it all the time. Why would you want to know them as victims and not as customers? And it just makes sense to me. I think that's somebody's platform to stand on a lot of times, and it's what makes them different. But I'd rather be on the customer service end of things.
And I think you hear from that one guy like that, and there's a 200 behind them who say, "Yeah, let's treat the customer nice." Yeah. Whatever kind of accent they use, they want to be nice to the customer and take care of the customer. At the end of the day, why wouldn't you want to? I mean, if you treat people miserably all day long, when you go home, you're going to feel miserable. And when you treat people kind, at the end of the day, you're going to feel okay about the job you did when you walk away from it. And that's kind of what's important, I think.
I remember in our department, we would have those arguments, like, customer service. I call them people. I don't call them customers. Who cares what you call them? And what was true about the whole thing is kind of like you said, is nobody argued that we should be mean to people.
Yeah,
that was never came up. They said, no, you shouldn't. And I mean, because it was like AA for a lot of us, because you were like, no, there's times that we want to hurt the people who call us.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they need to be tuned up. And you're like, no, you can't do that. You said it is. Once you jump over the asshole fence, you're an asshole. Yeah. And it's like, no, that's not who we want to be. We're not going to jump over the fence. We're going to be nice to them and kind and polite. Well, what if they do this? Well, if they punch us, then that's not a good idea, especially with Engine 11 here. They want to fight all the time.
So I was fortunate enough to take Bruno's Prevent Harm, Survive, and Be Nice philosophy to 3 departments that I was a fire chief in. And we use different words, right? We use be safe, be nice, be accountable in all 3 of those departments. Well, that was adopted as the departmental mission in those 3, or at least a mission statement in those 3 departments. One of them was Houston. You got a big department, and there was one person that I think throughout the entire system that said, no, I don't like that word, be nice. Well, do you not want to be nice? I'm okay with being nice. That's just kind of a weak word. Well, let's find a word that works for you. But, and I talk about that in other articles and stuff. But really, I think most organizations want to treat people nice. So what this program does, it actually gives you a process to how to change your organizational culture. So your culture kind of meets that be nice piece. Bruno used to say, what's the best definition of culture? The way things are done around here. Well, if you want to treat people nice, there's an easy way to get to that. It's a step-by-step process. You can manage it. You can hold people accountable through the process. When somebody doesn't treat somebody else nice, either in the system or a customer, you can hold them accountable, and it becomes aberrant. It's like, why would you treat them that way? It's not the common way we want to treat people. So I don't think anybody's ever sat on a hiring interview board and said, yeah, I want to be a firefighter so I could treat people like shit.
Yeah.
They do tell you that, hey, I care about people, I want to serve, and all those kind of things. So, I think it's important.
There's always a number of assholes. There's just going to be. It comes with people. And there was a saying within our fire department that there was 7 guys who voted against Joe Bledsoe's dog. And there was this captain on the fire department, the most fit person, the firefighter.
Nicest guy. Jeez.
He was prettier than any A-shifter. He was kind. He was like the statue of David is who this guy was.
He was.
And he's riding his bike down the canal, and he's going probably 60 miles an hour, and he hits a steel cable across the thing, man. Quadriplegic. It's just horrible. And he was probably late 20s.
He was right around 30. Yeah,
he was a god. It breaks your heart. And so he's recovering and doing his thing, and the fire department and the rest of it. And the union, he was going to come home. This is like, I don't know, a year into it. And we're at the union meeting, and they're voting on getting him a dog. A service dog to help him, and they get you shit and do things. And the dog was going to be like, I don't know, $1,500 back then, a million years ago. And it was like, I don't know, there's probably 200 people that showed up at the union meeting. So it was like 200 to 7. And you said 7 guys voted against the dog. And you're like, you think, you would sit in certain places with the most powerful people on the fire department, and they get talking. I say, if we could figure out who those 7 people are, and can tell me, like, I can find out. And they're like, you know who they are. And then, so it becomes a deal like we'll use their skin to build. It was just.
There's always a couple in the bunch. I came from a system where the firefighters ran a pension fund, and the pension fund was worth $25 million, and they voted on their own raises. So they were getting a pension. And part of
that may be a way to run the kitty, Vance, but I don't know if you run the kitty.
I think it's a bad system, but it's an old system set up by the state.
Yeah,
they were voting on an increase, and there was actually like 4 people that voted no to the increase, and 90 that voted for it. And it's like, who the hell would not want? And I found out who one of them was, and he said, I thought it should be more, so I voted no.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so it's like, man,
it's a big country out there, man. You talk to people, you say, you're mad we're getting a 5% raise. We should be double that. You think, they don't take it away at the end, and they add to it the next time. It
goes into your pension.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to throw out a couple of topics for you guys this week. Because it's hot topics, recruitment and retention. And specifically recruitment. Here's a story out of Osceola County, Florida. Osceola County, Florida. And what they ended up doing was hosting fire and EMS hosted a career signing day, just like the NCAA does. So they had the parents there. I'm scrolling through the story right now for the folks who are watching. So these are the students that they signed to the job, and parents were over there, and they were giving them hats and doing all the stuff like when you become an athlete for an NCAA school. I really thought that was a pretty cool idea. I've never seen anything like this. And part of their deal is earn while you learn. So they're actually hiring them, putting them on the payroll, and then allowing them to, become a regular firefighter later on. So I thought that was a neat program. I don't know if you guys have ever encountered anything like that before.
That is a great program. And, if you think about the whole, there's 3 parts to that, right? So you got the recruitment piece, you got the selection piece, and then you got the hiring piece, right? And if you break those down, you can kind of be creative in each one of those areas. So they're using a pretty creative recruitment piece. They're not guaranteeing those people are going to be selected. They're not telling them they're going to be hired, but they're giving them the opportunity to be interested in the job and then telling them what you need to do to become a firefighter. I think that's because there's a lot of people that are out there, and I think every department is having trouble hiring qualified firefighters, or qualified candidates to be firefighters. And, if you can show them on the front end, hey, this is how you're going to be included in the team on the team, and this is how you're going to be treated, I think we would have more people that would be interested in it. And when I was in Houston, the mayor, first thing, and it happened in every department I worked for, happened in Glendale, is that they are interested in a more diverse workforce. And the mayor, she says, I would like to have more female firefighters. I said, so would I. I think every fire chief in the country would say, yeah, we need more. I said, but they have to be qualified. We can't lower the standards to get any candidate, whether it's a female or anybody else. And she agreed to that. So now what you have to do is you need to go out and you need to recruit where people are capable to do the jobs. So we went out to universities. We went out to areas where people are playing sports, where women are playing sports, young girls are playing sports. Do you put the seed in the candidates when they're in high school, that a few years later, that's an opportunity for them, or at least an option for them? So I really like what they did there. I think it's incredible that it's what they did is they practiced a little inclusion, and that's what I told the mayor. The mayor was like, "Well, we need diversity." I said, "No, we need inclusion is what we need. We need to include the people that can do the job. If you're a fire chief and you're even thinking about lowering standards to get candidates, think about if you have an event like that, and it's because you hired candidates that weren't capable of doing the job." So finding a group of people, offer them a little bit of a recruitment buy-in, but you're not saying we're going to select you. You're not saying we're going to hire you, but we're going to give you an opportunity to apply. And
train you. We are going to train you.
We're going to apply. You have these skills. We're going to train you if we select you. That's very important. And really the real job of being a firefighter has to be identified up front. The other part of that is when we tell firefighters, and we've done this for years, you're going to come in and you're going to wear a uniform, and every day is going to be a working fire, and you're going to be a hero, and people are going to love you. And then they go on 12 EMS calls every shift for months and months and months, and then that has a...
Well, it turns into years and years and years.
Right?
And the problem comes in, and we talked to our communications department about this, is don't make a flyer where every picture is us fighting fire and we've got turnout gear on and we're climbing ladders, because that's 1% of what we do. We're going to be misleading people. We have to show a picture of us taking a blood pressure.
Vance, that's our job to show pictures of the fires.
Yeah. What else they did in that program is they set the culture, right? Mm-hmm. So they're starting to already say, hey, this is the culture of our organization when you get in here. And it's kind of like somebody said the other day that football teams kind of take on the culture of their coaches, the basketball teams, whatever. And I think some fire departments take on the culture of their fire chief and their command team.
Absolutely.
And I think that fire chief there is setting the culture that we're going to be inclusive, we're going to help people be successful, and hell, I think it's pretty awesome.
And make it a little fun when you get
make it fun,
too.
There was an article that came out the other day, and it was talking about the weight that workers have to deal with, just physical weight they pick up and move and carry. And the second highest was machinist. And I want to say it was about 20 to 30 pounds is what they had to deal with. The highest were firefighter, paramedics, and it was over 100 pounds of what they had to do. Wow. So, like, the physical piece of the CPAT is the Certified Physical Agility Test. So it's a certified test based on the work a firefighter has to do.
Bona fide
Yeah.
job
So
qualifications.
that's the reason there's not a wheelchair left on fire engines, is you have to be able to advance the tack lines, pull the tack lines, put ladders up. It's a very physical job. So that's part of it. So, but it is. It's harder and harder to sign people up. I mean, just when we came on, we were competing with probably 2,000 people that wanted 100 jobs. And I don't know what it is today, but it ain't 2,000 people taking the test.
No,
here.
you see Phoenix, they're putting up recruitment on their Facebook page all the time, trying to get people to be interested in the job of a firefighter with the Phoenix Fire Department, because I think it's very competitive right now when you're hiring firefighters too, is those qualified candidates out there. They're becoming very popular with the organizations, right? Mm-hmm. So once again, what's the culture in your organization? Do I want to work there where people are treated nice, or I want to work over there where I hear and they hear and they listen and they pay attention and they ride along and they know how people are treated?
Another weird thing I saw at FDIC this year was the Ventura City Fire Department was one of them. There was one of the fire departments, the county fire department around Washington, D.C. It was Prince George's or Prince William's or one of those. They had recruitment booths at FDIC this year. So they're trying to attract other firefighters to leave their job wherever they are in the country and come to Ventura, California. Now, I lived in Ventura in the 80s, and I could not even get an interview with a fire department then because it was so competitive. Getting an application entailed you went to a high school and stood in line starting at midnight because they were only going to give away 1,000 applications. So it was like getting Springsteen tickets where you had to stand in line, get the application, fill it out on the spot. Then you went into the auditorium and took the written test all in the same morning. So we'd sit out there with our hot chocolate and coffee and try to stay awake all night just to apply for the fire department. And none of us went anywhere with it because it was so hard to get. It was like winning the lottery back then.
And then when you do hire somebody, Bruno used to say, all the qualifications as far as being nice, I guess the personal skills of being a firefighter, you probably learn from your mom anyway, right? We can't always teach you to be nice. We could teach you how to act, how to behave. We could change your behavior, but I think that finding people that really are understanding of what the job of being a firefighter nowadays is, right? And in Glendale, and I've said it before on this podcast, that they had a wonderful system that they would take in if they were going to hire 5 people, they'd take in 30 candidates into what we called the combine. The city manager didn't like that word, but it was a combine. But it wasn't a physical combine as much as it was how you work together as a team. And they would put those 30 people, and they'd show up the first day, and they'd write their names on the back of a white T-shirt, and then they would put them in team exercises, kind of that bona fide job qualifications, kind of things that firefighters would do together as a team, and then watch and see how they reacted and how they responded. And once they started doing that and selecting the people out, they didn't have people leaving because they were run off the job or they couldn't make probation. In fact, we ended up with some really good candidates. And I remember one instance, and I've said this before, but it's worth repeating, is that we had a couple guys who were the big, buff, strong ex-military guys. It's like everybody looked at them and said, okay, we're going to hire those guys. After the second day, it's like, those guys are not going to be hired with us. They didn't participate in the team. They badmouthed the rest of the guy. They said the T-shirt was stupid. They were just too good to be a firefighter. And you wouldn't have found that out years ago. You would have hired them based on how they looked at how they look and where they came from, and they would have been a problem in the system. You're going to say something.
Yeah, big Z.
Right? So you just look at that, and so that system worked really well. So you got to invest. That's why I said you got the recruitment piece, you got the selection piece, which was this, and then the hiring piece. I think we don't do a very good job in Houston. They did a really good job in the hiring piece. Is they would do they didn't do so well with the interview piece, but they did really well with the background piece, and they would have people taking tests to see if they're just nuts. right? What do you call those, cognitive tests or psychological tests? And we were able to eliminate some candidates like, no, that person is not a good fit for the Houston Fire Department. I think they got some good candidates doing that. So we got to have that hiring process where before you sign that last document, man, you check them out physically, mentally, emotionally, however you do that. You check their background and find out what's going on with them.
We always couple recruitment with retention, and there are a number of departments right now that are having a struggle retaining their members. And, here's an example right here of a department. They're saying in Virginia, they're at the breaking point because of burned out firefighters and retention struggles. And it's all the mandatory overtime that people have to work. If they're in a system in a department that regularly mandatory overtimes them and makes them stay, you're getting ready to get off work to go to little Jimmy's birthday party, and the boss comes up and says, you're staying for another 12. That's hard to swallow for especially today's generation. And really what it comes down to here, and in this case, this chief at Virginia Beach is saying they need 140 more firefighters to make the fire department work. And we're seeing more and more departments like that throughout the country that are going hat in hand, begging for firefighters so they don't have to mandatory overtime people. Back in the day, we used to compete for overtime. I mean, it was probably one of the biggest sources of tension within the department was who was getting overtime, because it was so important to add to your income and add to your pension and everything else. Now you can't get people to work overtime. And because of the vacancies, the departments don't have the capacity through having rovers and really overstaffing. So when they're at minimum staffing, they have enough.
I've argued with every city manager and mayor that I work for as a fire chief that it's not an overtime problem that you're having, Mayor. It's a staffing problem. We need more firefighters. And it took a little while, and with the overtime budget being out of control for a period of time, I think when I got to the Houston Fire Department, first day I walked in, they said, we got a $40 million overtime problem. We're over $40 million in our overtime. I said, well, this fiscal year or next? They go, no, now. And I was hired in November. And it's like, oh my goodness, here we go. So even in that fiscal year, we were $40 million out. So it started having a discussion with the mayor. Finally, she supported, I shouldn't say finally, but she eventually supported hiring people. We were able to hire 300 plus people. Now Houston Fire Department's back down. They're shutting down companies, forced overtime. That forced overtime, went through that in Glendale. That's an ugly thing. We didn't have that. We were like you. We wanted the overtime. But when you can't go to grandma's bar mitzvah because you got to work that day and you don't find out about it until the day you're packed up, in the morning you're packed up ready to go home, and they tell you, no, you got to work another 24 or 48, whatever system you're in, that's hard on the membership. So these young people wanting to be firefighters are getting smarter. They're talking to firefighters, and then they're getting, does your fire chief have a plan to help with the staffing problem? And because they're having overtime problem, but does the fire chief have a plan that is a budget plan to hire more firefighters? Is that something that a council or a board has supported? And if not, these firefighters are going, no thanks. But firefighters are leaving to go to other departments. They're leaving for that reason. They'll leave because of that, and then they'll leave because of the way they're treated within the system and the way they're perceived within the system. It seems like nowadays these people that we're hiring, they're loyal to the job of firefighting, but they're not loyal to the city or the jurisdiction, where we were loyal to our jurisdiction growing up. That was kind of the way we were raised. And I don't think they should be loyal to the jurisdiction. If the jurisdiction isn't doing what they need to do, and there's a better job out there that you're going to be treated better, they got a better plan for your work schedule, and you can make the same amount of money, why wouldn't you go?
You guys ready for a timeless tactical truth? All right, a timeless tactical truth from Alan Brunacini. What makes work interesting? Responsibility, achievement, recognition, appreciation. Responsibility, achievement, recognition, appreciation. You got to be authentic when you're giving that recognition and appreciation part, right? I mean, that could come off very hollow. We saw it happen with nurses during the pandemic. They were appreciated and initially when the pandemic started. Remember what they were giving nurses as bonuses, like a free Domino's pizza for working a shift. Right. And then it turned into $100 and $500 and so on. Their appreciation really fell short. Does our appreciation fall short in the fire service, or how can we shore that up so we're showing recognition and appreciation in appropriate ways?
Would you put that back up there again? I want to look at it. So maybe you can put a cost to recognition if you're going to give somebody something. Most firefighters will tell you, I don't want the plaque, I don't want the ribbon, I don't want the pen or whatever. But all this is pretty free, right? There's not a lot of cost to all that. When you give somebody responsibility and that means you trust them enough to say, hey, take on this job. Most firefighters want to do that. Most workers want to do that. They want to take on a little more responsibility to show you they can do that. Most people just don't want to go to work and kind of sit like a toll booth guy and just not do anything. Especially when they become firefighters, because they really probably are high achiever type people. And then, just look at that. Appreciation is a simple thank you, and when you really mean it, right? Bruno talks about in the anatomy and physiology of leadership and the body parts is where you're going to be and what are you going to do. Appreciation means a fire chief or somebody shows up and just tells somebody truly, I appreciate what you did here. The work that you did here was well done. And he used to do that to us all the time when we deserved it. And he wouldn't do it. You probably didn't get that a lot in high school, did you? I'm just kidding.
We had different experiences together.
But so
I helped make him a better leader in many ways.
Yeah,
I think
you
so.
Challenged him. So
no, not direct challenging. I'm still alive.
I just wanted that to go back up there because to show that again, because that's write those down and realize.
What makes work a firefighter? There's no more interesting work than being a firefighter. Like to do a fire attack, there's just nothing else that. Anywhere, right? I guess you could be like a deep water diver or something where nature's trying to kill you, essentially.
Jet pilot.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of G's, but I don't know. That's its own reward, I think. And say that's one thing that makes it very difficult to manage. Is it's hard to manage something that people view as more recreational than occupational.
Managing the tactical fun.
Well, boys, let's call it. I think this is it. Thank you.
Tremendous.
Thanks for being here.
Timeless Tactical Truths. Thank you for sharing that. Did you play the music and we just didn't hear it in here?
Yeah, that's why I retook it. I did it twice because you were talking one time which I should let you know the music.
Oh I don't know. I'd like to hear the music.
I know. I need a little speaker in here so you can hear the music. All right. Thanks so much for joining us on this B Shifter. You can go to the show notes, get links to all the stuff that we're doing, all the stuff that we talked about that's at the B Shifter store, and, of course, the conference. Till next time, thanks so much for listening.